Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on. Presented by Super Chevy. See your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge. This is LSU football.
Daniels again, design run, goes left, cuts back right, gets to the 5, tries to stretch it towards the pylon. He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers. Daniels in the shotgun, along with Emery. Here's the snap. Daniels looking left, tosses it towards the end zone, grabbing it. Mason Taylor, back left corner, touchdown, Fighting Tigers!
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Tonight from Camping World Stadium in Orlando, it's the LSU Tigers and the Florida State Seminoles. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff and Matt Musso.
Just off the LSU campus in Baton Rouge. Welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charles Sandegriff, along with Matt Musso and our entire ESPN Baton Rouge staff as we get you ready for the 2023 season opener between the Florida State Seminoles and the LSU Fighting Tigers. The Tigers entered the game ranked number 5 in the nation, coming off a 10-4 season a year ago that saw them win the SEC Western Division, get a decisive bowl game victory, and finish ranked 16th in the country by the Associated Press. Brian Kelly's first year at the helm for LSU got off to a rocky start, but finished strong, and the Tigers look to carry that momentum into the new season. Florida State enters tonight's contest ranked 8th in the nation in both polls. Last year, Mike Norvell's Seminoles went 10-3, winners of their final 6, which included a bowl win over Oklahoma. Florida State ended the year ranked 11th in the country. These two teams opened the 2022 season in the Superdome, with FSU holding on for a late 24-23 win. There is a drastic difference between that game and this one. Last year, Brian Kelly was coaching his first game at LSU and very much getting to know his personnel. Special teams mistakes and a shaky offensive line ultimately cost the Tigers in Game 1. But by midseason, LSU had started to turn the corner. And by the time they beat Alabama in November, Kelly had a firm grip on the club. Winning the West put him ahead of schedule, and the silly questions about cultural fit are far back in the rearview mirror now. LSU comes into this season with a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback, a manageable schedule, and a very realistic chance to be in the college football playoff. Florida State comes into this season with a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback, a manageable schedule, and a very realistic chance to be in the college football playoff. I didn't just hit copy-paste here. There's a lot of similarities in the expectations of these two programs this year. Mike Norvell threw an ice bucket on that warming seat of his with that 10-win season a year ago, and Florida State wants to see if they can take the next step. Whereas LSU last season scored a big upset over Alabama, but were then upset themselves by Texas A&M, Florida State simply won all of their games against unranked opponents and lost all the ones they played against the ranked. The stakes tonight are high. There are legitimate stars on both sides, and a lot of players on that field tonight will be playing on Sundays. It's a standalone game on opening weekend, so the entire college football world will be watching closely. The winner of this game will have scored the biggest victory of the young season, a resume builder that will likely hold up all the way through the selection of the CFP committee. The loser will still have a chance to get there, but we're working for the rest of the season without a safety net. Musso, it's been a long summer, and we have been anxiously awaiting this game. There is some strategic benefit to opening the season with a rental win, but it does not match the anticipation of opening up with two top 10 teams on this field tonight.
It doesn't, and you're right. I mean, Hanny, we've been talking about this game since LSU left Camping World Stadium earlier this year in January, and we have 3 more hours ourselves to talk about it with our great staff that we'll bring on, but expectation is the biggest similarity now between these two teams. And you know what's odd, too, is in this day and age of college football, you don't normally see two teams face off and it look really similar on each side. Florida State obviously returns a lot. LSU returns a lot. And expectations high on both sides. Year 2 has brought plenty of expectations around LSU sports here recently, and it's no different for the football team. I am fired up and ready to get going with this one because it's been a long summer, because we've talked so much about it. And if everything comes to pass like it should, we should be in for a great football game tonight in Orlando.
Gordy Rush and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, are on site in Orlando. Jimmy Ott hunkered down at the Beau Rivage. He's been watching football for 2 days. We'll talk with him. We've got a long interview with LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward on pretty much the state of the program, and not just the football program, but the athletic program that is on almost an unprecedented role right now. Shea Dixon from On3 does our recruiting. Jim Nagy is back for another season doing our scouting reports. He is the senior executive director at the Senior Bowl. And, of course, Matt Moscona, T-Bob Hebert, Jacob Hester, all with us. We'll hear from the players. Kurt Weiler is with us to give us the Florida State perspective. And Richard Dixon, former LSU Tiger, will join us for Keys to the V. He'll be my co-host on the postgame. We're at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. It's time to get the season kicked off. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank. The bank that cares about you. Now, here's Charles Hannegriff. And from the LSU Sports Radio Network, Gordy Rush.
The Bears count down the kickoff clock. 4 hours and 50 minutes till they kick the ball in Orlando. Gordy Rush joins us here as we open the show. Gordy, happy football season. How are you?
Charlie, how are you? It was good to watch a lot of football yesterday, not have to play until Sunday. I'm not going to get that privilege, I don't think, the rest of the year, but it was fun.
Me neither, but it was a nice way to start the season. Gordy, let's start on the logistics of getting down there. The hurricane came through earlier in the week, but had cleared out by that time. So what kind of scene setter, if you will, give me down in Orlando? How many LSU fans get down there, and any aftermath of the storm there?
No, I'll tell you, it's been a slow weekend in Orlando. For Labor Day weekend, I've been down here a bunch during the summer, and our trip to we took off at 2:30 from Baton Rouge, got here about 5 o'clock, and it was 25 minutes from the airport. And Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock, going from that airport to all the attractions. We're at the Renaissance SeaWorld. We're at the same place we stayed for the bowl game. You always catch traffic, and I've really been surprised. It's been rather slow for a Labor Day weekend. That being said, there's supposed to be a great crowd tonight for this football game, but it hadn't been that busy.
All right, let's start on the offensive side of the football. Jaden Daniels a year ago had a fantastic season for LSU. This is, in my opinion, his team, and what kind of season he has is going to go a long way towards determining how LSU finishes. What improvements to his game are you expecting starting tonight?
Well, I think you'll see continued improvement that we saw during the bowl game, and I realize it was just Purdue with half a football team, but you saw him make a commitment to getting rid of the football on time. I think more confident in what Mike Denbrock was trying to do offensively, and less anxiety back there, and just less trying to improvise. And I think for him to play at the next level, that has to be what people around him, outside and inside the program, have told him. You've got to be more accurate throwing the football. You have to show us that you can go through the progression of this offense and stay with it a little longer. And, hey, if you go through two options that's not there, then tuck it and go ahead and run, slide, and get the best out of it. So I think he's more accurate throwing the football. He's put on probably 10 to 15 pounds. He looks a little bit bigger than me. I'm just looking for more continue to what we saw in the football game and what I saw in numerous fall camps, including that scrimmage a couple of Saturdays ago, which is 46 plays, but really looks sharp throwing the football.
Gordy, we've talked about it so many times now, his progression as a passer, that yesterday I was doing a guest spot in New Orleans, and they asked me, is Jaden Daniels going to stop, running so much? And I said, you know what? I hope not, because to me that's what differentiates him, makes him a special player. So maybe not run as much, but that facet to his game has to be there, in my opinion, for him to be an upper echelon player. That's what scares people, and then the rest of the game opens up for him.
Look, I don't want to take away his legs. I think there were too many times that he broke. He tucked the ball before he gave the pass play a chance to develop. I do think that what I do hope changes, and I think changes to some degree, is the amount of called runs. I don't think you're going to see as much because and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but you have a full stable of running backs. You've got a much mature offensive line. And finally, you have enough tight ends to get to some 12 personnel, one running back, two tight ends that, that Denbrock and Brian Kelly have used so much in the last 5 to 10 years at both of their stops. So I think they'll be more balanced offensively. Yeah, you want him to make plays with your legs, but I don't think it's a good sign if he rushes for the same yard total that he did a year ago.
This offensive line last September in the Superdome was still very much a work in progress. A year later, Gordy, they've got a ton more experience. I like two things about this offensive. I like a lot of things about it, but two things specifically. One, that the starting five were able to spend most of August together. There wasn't a lot of time missed for injuries. There wasn't a lot of cross-training among the starters. The second thing I like is the depth, because there was plenty of cross-training there, and I feel like there's some underclassmen, specifically one freshman, that's going to really make a push for some playing time, but it's because they're excelling, not because there's a gaping need somewhere.
Yeah, you and I have talked about it for years. In order to win the SEC, I think on a consistent basis, you need numbers on the offensive and defensive line, and LSU was thin on both of them last year, and really got by with 6 or 7 offensive linemen a year ago. They probably have 10 to 12 that they feel good about. And you're right, there's some people getting pushed, but I think that you're going to see the starting lineup intact probably the whole football game, hopefully with no injuries. just because of the nature of the game that you're on the road. It's called a neutral site game. It's going to sway Florida State's way, and I think it's a tough environment to break in some freshmen. That being said, I think Brian Kelly said it best on the radio show Monday. Basically, they have to stay pretty vanilla with some of their blocking schemes because they were so young and so unfamiliar from a year ago. This group is so much more advanced, and they're going to need to do so because Florida State likes to bring a lot of pressure looks. So they're going to have their protections down and make sure that they can do different things and just not offer the one or two things that they did a year ago down in New Orleans that got them in such trouble against the Florida State defense.
Gordy, earlier you mentioned the stable of running backs. There's a couple things that stand out with that. Obviously, the sheer numbers. You won't have all 8 tonight. No Goodwin, no Emery. But you'll have 6. And the other thing that kind of stands out is a lot of experience and a lot of youth. Good mix there. How much of a rotation should we really expect tonight? Or with the magnitude of this game, is it, hey, they trust Josh Williams, give it to him, give it to 27, let him carry the load and tote the rock the most?
No, I think you'll see a nice rotation between Josh Williams, who is back to health. We didn't see him in that scrimmage 2 Saturdays ago. Noah Cain kind of led the way, and I thought on Monday Cain would be RB1. I'd be surprised if Josh Williams didn't start, but you're going to see Diggs, you're going to see Noah Cain, and I think the question is, do you see a package for Caleb Jackson? He's straightaway speed. He's the fastest running back they have out there. I don't think he's ready. Again, for a Florida State team that brings a lot of pressure to get in there in too many plays and know the pass protection and some of those things. But yet, I think there's a 1 or 2 ways you can find him the football, try and get him the ball in space, and maybe he can make something happen. But primarily, I think you're going to see a 3-headed monster at running back for LSU tonight.
Brian Kelly has produced a number of NFL tight ends in his tenure as a coach. This year, Gordy, he's got a returning player in Mason Taylor who had a terrific freshman season and looks to be improved from that. And he's got some freshmen that he's excited about. You were talking about the 12 personnel earlier. How much more with the tight end game can we expect?
Yeah, I wonder. I think in the red zone it gets interesting that you have a couple other targets down there that you can use. If you go 12 personnel with Pimpton, the big 6'6" kid, can you do some crossing and some things like the Oakland Raiders did that when they had Foster Moreau and kids playing with the Giants. Now they were at Waller. They were able to really be effective under John Gruden and do some things like that. I think they'll get to the 12 personnel, Charlie, and I think you'll see 12 personnel. If LSU happens to get a lead and they want to be able to run the football and grind a game out, I don't know how much you see of it tonight because Florida State blitzes. And if I'm Mike Denbrock, I want to spread the football field. I want to keep my 3 wide receivers out there, and I want to take advantage of matchups. They're going to bring that much pressure. They're going to play man behind it. And you feel much better about LSU. Daniel's ability to recognize a year ago, the offensive line's ability to pick up. And more importantly, you've got some mismatches out there with that receiving core and Taylor against man coverage you want to take advantage of.
I like this wide receiver group. We were making a comparison the other day to the 2003 group where you had up in the front, you had a Michael Clayton and a Devery Henderson and a Skylar Green, but you had some super freshmen on that team that really didn't get a chance to play, like Dwayne Bowe and Craig Davis, who would become stars later. I almost feel like I'm looking at the same group. You know, I look at a Sheldon Sampson, and I think that guy is going to be a star, but not this year, because there is significant numbers in that room and a lot of different options that they have. This, to me, looks like a very, very sound and explosive group of wide receivers.
No, they're exactly right. Sampson and Jaylen Brown were really turning heads during fall camp. Both of them got some touches on that scrimmage I keep going back to, which is, you know, for Brian Kelly, you go 46 plays, you kind of know who you're good with. I think the question with that was, how are some young guys going to perform when you put them in Tiger Stadium? And they both played well. I think Hilton has become more of a complete receiver, and that's great because, you know, he's a 400-meter kid that has tremendous speed. You know that Brian Thomas and Kyron Lacey had really good springs. I think Neighbors in the slot is really versatile. You saw the reverse against Purdue. You're going to see him get him the ball quick in space. And let's include Aaron Anderson in that group. The punt returner, the kick returner, they've gotten the ball a couple times to him with some slip screens and at 5'7" and a great swivel. He can move quickly. He's gonna probably get 1 or 2 touches on the offensive side as well.
In a perfect world, he's Skylar Green. That's who I want him to be. If he's Skylar Green, then he's going to have a tremendous impact on this offense. We'll take a break. We are at Rouse's Burbank and Lee, presented by your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Defense. Presented by Edward Jones, making sense of investments. Now here's Charles Hanegraaff. And from the LSU Sports Radio Network, Gordy Rush.
The Bears countdown to kickoff. We're going at 6:30 tonight. 4 hours and 36 minutes from right now. Gordy, on the defensive side, let's start with the absence of Mason Smith. LSU lost him in this game to a freak injury a year ago. He missed the entire season, got back in spring. Been a little bit gimpy in fall, but that's not why he's out today. It's an NCAA infraction. So on that defensive interior, where last year DeQuillen Roy and Mekhi Wingo were forced to play so many snaps, around about 90% of the snaps, even without Mason Smith tonight, they'll have some more options there for a better rotation.
Yeah, they will. And, Naaman, we haven't heard a lot about coming out of camp. Paris Shand, I think, is going to play a role in that. And to go along with Jordan Jefferson, we talked about Guillory. They have numbers down there, and they also have more depth. And I talked about that in the last segment. If you recall, 93% of the time last year, they played with the same D tackles and Wingo and Jay Roy. And then it was 80% something, then it was Ojulari and Gay to go with those guys. So it was just those four. You're talking about 8 or 9 different options up there. I think you'll see some sub packages when they go nickel, when they go dime. Look for Womack, the freshman, to come in as an edge guy. He kind of reminds me of the way that you used Ojulari as a true freshman, if you recall, on some of those packages, and get after it. So I think they're going to be fine, and that's not including when they decide to kick Harold Perkins down to the edge as well.
All right, when Harold Perkins was moved to inside linebacker, I'll be honest with you, my first thought was, I don't want to take that guy off of the edge. I don't want to reduce his ability to make plays in space and really affect the passer. Brian Kelly sort of, talked me through this. He wasn't talking to me, he was talking to the media, that they will be able to employ him in a number of different ways. So tell me that Harold Perkins is not going to be caught up inside, head up on a 325-pound guard, so much as that they're going to try to hide him and make him very difficult to locate and block.
Yeah, look, Charles, I think to be clear, his two positions last year, really on first and second down, he was the nickel back, okay? Yeah. And then he came and played defensive edge in the sub packages. And the problem LSU had is that Arkansas started to do it, and then Texas A&M did it, so everybody else was going to get the word in the league that you could go 2 and 3 wides or 2 wides to his side, and you forced him into coverage. And so against Texas A&M and the first half against Arkansas, he was head out with a slot. And basically, you've taken him out of the play. They took him out of the play by alignment. Now, as an inside linebacker, you can't do that because you'll have somebody else playing nickel. I think the two things you'll see happen is on sub packages, they will move him around a couple places. And then secondly, if you think about the quarterbacks that are in this league, when you talk about Travis and Jefferson, and we saw Ashford yesterday from Auburn and Dart from Ole Miss, where he was really effective was as a spy. And they didn't know that he could play this. He had 1 tackle against Florida State. But certainly there's going to be snaps where you're using him as a spy. So I think whether it's the inside linebacker or bluffing as a spy, or if you run him on an edge, and I don't have to change the personnel package, I think makes him so much more dangerous. There was a learning curve in the spring, him learning gap responsibility, and probably more importantly, just learning to feel comfortable dropping in space and playing underneath zone coverage. It took some time. He got better as over the summer, and he was much better in the fall than he was in the spring. But I think that it ensures that he's going to be on the football field, and he's going to make the offensive coordinator guess what's going on. Instead of last year, you knew where he was and where he was coming from.
See, all you got to do is talk me through it. I feel better.
Okay.
Omar Spates, the transfer from Oregon State. This guy's basically played an entire career of college football, but he's got another year. Gordy, the first time I saw him, I thought Kelvin Shepard. He may be an inch or so shorter, but tackling machine on the inside. How does he pair with Perkins in a base defense for LSU?
Yeah, I love him. I mean, he's a strong side linebacker. He's got a little bit more pop to him than Shep's a good one. I was thinking Brady James was actually a little bit more bulk. But he runs well like both of them. I think they're both a good comp. And the ball to him, he's going to feel the cap and do some of the things that you're worrying what Perkins may do. And then secondly, having Perkins, I think he's a perfect running mate for Perkins, being new to that position, that he's going to keep him in the right play and the communication and all the above. I think he's got a chance to play on Sundays. He's special, and that was a huge get for LSU.
All right, I'm very good at burying the lead, so let me finally get to the biggest concern that LSU should have tonight. Florida State's starting wide receivers, Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, are 6'7". That's not a typo, that's true, and 6'4". LSU has been experimenting at cornerback. It's almost an entirely new group back there. Gordy, to me, the number one fear for LSU tonight, how they could most easily lose this game, is if those wideouts dominate these one-on-one matchups and Jordan Travis throws for 325 yards. So what are you expecting from a coverage standpoint from LSU against these big receivers tonight?
Yeah, I think a lot of zone. I think they're going to play a lot of nickel with Brooks as the nickel, Burns as the strong safety, Andre Sam as the free, and I think it's going to be Alexander and Sage Ryan to start things off. And when they go dime, they'll bring Deuce Chestnut in. And I think a lot of different looks, but not many situations where they're going to leave those corners out on the island. And you're right, that is the question mark. How do they hold up? Alexander's played a lot of ball. They played at Southeastern. Ryan had his struggles as the backup nickel, and especially was getting picked on in man coverage. I think by playing the cornerback position, Charlie, it kind of cuts down the responsibility. He doesn't have the whole middle of the field to defend, and he's been probably one of their most physical cornerback out there. But no doubt, I don't think this is a defensive secondary because who you are on the back. First off, you're still trying to gel with three new people back there to go with Burns and Brooks back there. How are they going to gel together? And nor is it a group that you want to take chances with because I think you'll get out-athleted spots. So I think we'll see more NFL type of things, meaning, hey, we're going to line up and show quarters and stem out of quarters and play this variety of coverage and try to keep the ball in front of you.
All right, I don't want to be an alarmist here, but the last time before a season opener you told me they were going to play a lot of zone was 2020 against Mississippi State. That didn't go all that well. Tell me this isn't going to look like that.
I hope not. I couldn't believe somebody was going to blitz and play Mike Leach, man, the man. And all he did was have his his quarterback that he wound up benching a week or two later set a damn record at the time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. I just can't imagine that they do that. I mean, you always got to mix it up. You can't just run one thing. But I think you got enough athletes up there up front to get pressure by bringing five. You can do some zone blitzing that you don't have to sell out and play the man-to-man that LSU, obviously did under Orgeron and before that. I don't think that happens tonight.
Biggest change for this year to me, biggest area for improvement, special teams, which were a problem a year ago. You've got your specialists back, but to me, Gordy, if they'd have just fixed the return game last year, that would have alleviated, 3/4 of their problems. Aaron Anderson is as important as anybody on that field tonight, in my opinion. He can make game-changing plays, and I don't know. Am I being overly optimistic here that this could look a lot different than it did a year ago?
Well, two ways it's going to look different. You're right, Aaron Anderson. Not only it's the media and everything they've seen. I hosted the Bengal Bay at Bells, and the players went on and on about how good this is and how dynamic he is back there. So they're believers as well. And then in that scrimmage, Charlie, the dress rehearsal, Coach Kelly opened that up to the media, and I think he opened it up to the media because there was a 45-minute period on special teams, followed by a 45-minute scrimmage. I think he wanted everybody to see the special teams, and what you saw, if you're looking at it, was that he had a lot of the defensive starters on punt coverage team. Harold Perkins Jr., Spates, Greg Penn was up there. Andre Sam was up there. They frontliners. They had ones and some twos on a lot of the special teams. And I think that he's just sending a message that this is how important it is. I need my best line people to go do this. And the attention to detail with 4 or 5 coaches coaching 2 or 3 guys on each special team, it's been fantastic. So I think those are the two changes. I'd be shocked if we saw errors on special teams. And if they do have errors on special teams, don't call me at 2 in the morning when you and Dixon are doing post.
Gordy, have a great call and a safe trip home, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
We are here at Rouse's. We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Next week when you're coming in for tailgating, we've got Supreme Rice right here at Rouse's. The brown, the long grain, the medium grain, the jasmine. It's perfect for jambalayas. It's perfect for your red beans. Later in the season for your gumbos or maybe your crawfish etouffee. And right now, they have instituted the Climate Smart program at Supreme Rice. This is ensuring that future generations of farmers will be able to benefit benefit from the same type of things that these farmers have. It's going to control emissions. It's going to conserve water. So keep your money in state. Support our Louisiana farmers. They've been doing this down in southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. Pick up Supreme Rice the next time you shop for rice. More information and some great recipes, go to the website at supremerice.com. Otterlocks is next from Rouse's. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's
98.1.
Protect your home with dependable roof repair and service. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Otterlocks. Presented by Excel. For over 30 years, excellence in providing construction engineering and fabrication services. For information, visit us at excelusa.com. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
Jimmy Ott hunkered down at the Beau Rivage down in Biloxi, where Football Sunday originated from earlier today, and where we will be tomorrow for, or at least one of us will be. One of us will be on the phone, but for our show live at lunch. Jimmy, how you doing?
Doing good, Charlie. How about you?
Great. Ordinarily in this segment, we're going to get, picks for the rest of the college football weekend, but there's not that much left. So I want to take some time and look back at what we saw yesterday. And listen, I know we're going to be saturated with coverage of this, but I can't not talk about Colorado and the game yesterday. Wildly entertaining with TCU. And listen, I'll give Deion credit. That offense looked very, very efficient, highly tuned, and big-time skill for a group that's been thrown together, kind of on the fly here. Now, defensively, they're a mess, but that was interesting football yesterday at TCU.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about how the offense don't overreact to some ugly offenses early on. It's college football, and turnover in your personnel, but nobody's had turnover in personnel like this. Give Deion credit for a staff assembly as well. He went to Kent State and got their head coach as his offensive coordinator, and they looked buttoned up. I mean, no panic, getting plays in off time, critical play calls, whether it's the 4th and 2, the 3rd and 16. There was never a pause, never burning timeout. There was never where the receiver, he throws the ball and, Shador and his receivers are shrugging their shoulders, well, they're off on the same page. That was as clean, as efficient, as buttoned up offensive execution for the first game, and had all of the reasons not to be. I mean, had they looked sloppy with all those new pieces, nobody would have given it a second thought. So Charlie, to be that clean on that side of the ball where it's really ugly, usually this time of the year, I was blown away. I was blown away, and there's so much sizzle to Prime, that we don't know how much stake he's got. But man, as a coach, as a compiling staff, we know he's going to get players. We know that, okay? But that the other aspect of it, and Rohan Davey made a great comment earlier today. A lot of times when you're dubbed a players coach, they don't think you can X and O or you can do the other stuff. Coach Prime, man, he got a lot. One game, I get it. TCU, what are they? Were they closest to the team that played the national championship game, or are they closest to the team that has lost 3 or 4 now? So, still, that was clean, very, very impressive. I was blown away.
Jimmy, we've seen two-way players before in college football, but generally when we see that, we see a guy that's dominant on one side of the ball, and they mix him in on the other side. A dominant defensive player like a Patrick Peterson or a Charles Woodson. They play special teams, and they'll put in some special stuff for them offensively. I was trying to remember the last time I've seen a guy go full-time both ways. Travis Hunter caught 11 balls for 119 yards yesterday and played. He had 3 tackles and a pass defense and an interception yesterday, a key interception. And I've seen it a couple of different numbers, but he played somewhere in the vicinity of 125 snaps yesterday. I've never seen that. I'll be honest with you. Look, Shedeur Sanders, set a school record, and he wasn't even the player of the game, in my opinion. It was Travis Hunter.
Oh, again, it's splitting hairs. If you want to give a game ball, I think both
of them, yeah, sure.
Were appropriately, part of the interview after the game. The exact count was 129.
129. Okay.
I think he's a little stronger on the defensive side than he is on the offensive side. And keep in mind, man, we're up in Natchez last year. That's flat country. We're watching a lot of Jackson State games, and he didn't stick out to me, Charlie, like I thought he would. Yesterday, he stood out. And, he had the interception, and I thought maybe the ball game slipped through his hands on another near interception underneath where he really broke on the ball, because TCU ultimately scored on that one. But, I mean, it was something. He cannot keep up that pace, okay, for the season, okay? Prime's going to have to pick his spots a little bit more. I think he's going to play full-time on the defensive side and maybe be a little bit more judicious with his reps. He can't play 130 snaps a game. I mean, there's no way.
No, they'll have to monitor that. All right, North Carolina and South Carolina, one of the better matchups of the weekend. Another entertaining game. North Carolina kind of took advantage of some good field position in the third quarter and pulled away in this thing. Jimmy, I thought South Carolina played well in the first half. They missed some opportunities. When they got the onside kick to open the second half, I thought that was a real opening for them. They end up going 4 and out right there, and I thought all the momentum of the game swung to UNC right there.
I thought UNC was the better team, and I thought Beamer was kind of doing a hell of a job managing the game to try and keep his team hanging around and kind of almost, in position to steal it. Now, North Carolina, when they, busted out to, more than a double-digit lead, I thought they sat on that lead, and it was just chance after chance after chance of South Carolina. They just couldn't get back in the game. I think May is the real deal. I'm not, I think Rattler is kind of spotty. We talked about that going into the game. Take away the Tennessee game last year, 12 TDs, 12 interceptions. That's nothing to write home about. And Tennessee's pass defense was hard last year. But, it's part of his numbers, and that was his best game last year. But this game was billed as a two quarterback. There's no comparison between those two guys. And give Gene Chizik some credit, man. He said, we are going to be better on that side of the ball. They hit Rattler. And to Rattler's defense, he was getting pressured a lot more than Drake May. But I thought the better team won. But, even in a defeat, I thought Beamer did some really good things to kind of keep his team hanging around a little bit longer.
Good coach. Good coach.
Otter, obviously in the Big Ten, it's Ohio State, Michigan. Everybody loves those two. Penn State, James Franklin trying to get on SVP Monday night aside at the end of that game. Drew Aller.
I never noticed.
Yeah, you did.
He looked. But wait a minute. I know West Virginia, Neil Brown, hot seat, all that stuff. Penn State looked really good last night. And for Drew Aller making his first start in college, are they a team that is a legitimate challenger now through to Michigan, to Ohio State after the Buckeyes didn't maybe look as sharp as many had hoped?
If not now, then when?
Yeah.
I mean, both quarterbacks for Ohio State and Penn State were first-time starters. Penn State, Aller looked better. The kid from Ohio State was just struggled, but again, we don't want to overreact, to first week.
Right.
I mean, what happened in Colorado is the outlier yesterday. But this is Franklin's best roster. It's his best roster, and Aller gives him he's just as bigger, stronger arm. You can't cheat on him as much as Clifford. And so it's just a matter of how quickly he can kind of get the hang of things. But there's nobody to watch those two games yesterday that are even, that wouldn't think Penn State can go to Columbus and compete. They got Michigan at home. Can't tell anything about Michigan's game and their opponent yesterday. But, this if not this year, then when? Because they've got the roster. They've got a big-time quarterback. It's just a matter of, how quickly he develops over the course of the season, where when they get to those two games, he's going to be ready to go and compete with those guys.
Jimmy, most intriguing player to me right now in the Southeastern Conference, intriguing meaning he could go either way, is Joe Milton. I watched most of that game yesterday. There were times where I saw Joe Milton make throws that maybe nobody else in college football can make with that bazooka arm. I saw him throw some really accurate passes. A couple of them were dropped, a couple of big drops, actually. Then there was a drive, and I think I texted you right after it, where he had 3 open receivers and missed all 3. Tennessee blew out Virginia yesterday. That wasn't the story of the game to me. As Milton goes, so goes Tennessee. If he's the good Milton, the accurate Milton that we saw at times yesterday, Tennessee can be a top 10 team. If he's not, they kind of fade. What did you think?
I think he's been the same guy we've seen, for over and over and over. And that is, hit and miss. I mean, he's a guy that is going to connect on some, and he's going to miss. And I think that's, every game. So they, nothing surprised me. I mean, and even with more reps, it's just his mechanics. It's just his style of doing things. It just doesn't lend itself to a lot of consistency. And man, give Heupel credit, man. He's quarterback friendly, man. He's going to put his quarterbacks in position where they got some plays to make. He's not Hooker. Never going to be Hooker. And Charlie, I think Virginia's horrible. It's not even close. There's not anybody that I know of that doesn't think they're going to finish in last in the ACC. Brennan Armstrong, and then a ton of look, man, horrible tragedy, local kids involved, but it is an empty cupboard. And Tony Elliott's questionable on him. He's handled all these things, these outlying circumstances, tremendously. All right, the humane side of it, from a football perspective, they're bad. And Milton, Charlie, if you say one time he didn't make any throws, okay, well, I'll be surprised. If he does, well, man, he couldn't miss. I'll be surprised. But if you can tell me he's hot and cold, hey, that's what I'm expecting. There was nothing different yesterday. Yeah, the final score looks like, oh, yeah, he's solid. He's going to be fine. No. He's, and what limits him is his lack of consistency. He is just not an accurate thrower.
I'm going to ask you about this game, kind of to set up next week's. With Tulane's win against South Alabama, I was really, really impressed. Michael Pratt, ties the school record for touchdown passes, but that is a good South Alabama team that they thumped. South Alabama won 10 games in this regular season a year ago. The 2 losses were very, very close. And Tulane missing Tyjae Spears. It was 1,900 yards of total offense a year ago. And Tulane thumped them. And I'm asking you about this game to set up the next one. They play Ole Miss in Yeoman Stadium next week, and what's got to be the biggest regular season game there in that stadium ever. And for Tulane, I can't tell you how long on campus. We like Willie Fritz, but that was really impressive yesterday, and next week should be really interesting.
Not only did they lose Spears, who's going to be just fine with the Tennessee Titans, they lost their top 2 leading tacklers as well. But they go out and got about 12 or 13, transfers as well to kind of, fill out, finish off his roster. Pratt, he had him coming back. Charlie, that's a pretty good roster. I mean, this is not just smoke and mirrors what they did it with last year. I mean, they may even be, like, as far as a complete roster. No, Spears, they don't have anybody like that. Those guys that tackling, those 2 defenders, they don't have anybody like that. But overall, they might be a little bigger, a little stronger, a little faster than they were overall in that Cotton Bowl championship team. So Fritz is, hey, man, for an older guy who maybe isn't looked to just an upward mobility in his profession, maybe as aggressively as some others, man, he's got the hang, or at least he's got somebody on staff that has this this transfer role figured out, because, man, that was no fluke. There was no big plays. There was no lucky bounces. That was a sound beating of a 10-win team last year that had 19 returning starters and really completely outclassed them yesterday. I heard about the transfers. It was a different story. Over here in Beau Rivage, it was one of the biggest plays they had. South Alabama at a point. I had them. A lot of other people did too. Well, give respect. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Used to play all the time, every year, back when they were in the Dome when I was growing up. But it's going to be a fun one in Yeoman Stadium next week.
All right, this is Otter Lock, so I'm going to ask if you guys – we got 3 games left of the college football weekend, including, of course, LSU, and your thoughts on that game.
Like LSU, small, down to 1.5. This thing was at 3.5 with the kind of the initial action back in the summer when the line was released. And then it was at 2.5, 3 for a while, but, man, Florida State money, coming in. And so it's at 1.5 right now. Tomorrow, I like Duke. My Clemson people are very excited about their team this year. I think they're just as excited about moving on from the DJU tenure. And so, Cole Klubnik is he's either hot or cold. We'll have to see if he can be more consistent this year. He should be. But Duke's got a lot returning, man. Riley Leonard's legit. That's 13 points at home. I like that one. And San Jose State's getting ready to go right now, Charlie. And they're getting some public action as well. So I'm on San Jose State the points in this one as well.
All right, who's bringing us Otter Locks?
All right, well, it's our friends over at Excel, and it's a great thing. All kinds of things, turnaround. They leverage turnkey capabilities for quality and timely turnaround deliverables to maximize the effectiveness of your facility turnaround. Fabrication, disaster recovery, project management. You can learn more at their website at excelusa.com. That's excelusa.com.
All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. You'll still be at Beau Rivage for Live at lunch. We are working on Labor Day, so we'll talk to you then.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks a lot. When we return here at Rouse's, Athletic Director Scott Woodward, we're doing some, pretty much a state of the program. LSU on quite a roll in pretty much every sport. We'll talk with Scott, an interview that we did earlier this week. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here. Now, for life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206
98.1.
Matchups, down the field. The ball's going to get thrown down the field to some elite receivers, and we're going to have to make our share of plays down the field. Clearly that's probably number one. Number two will be, tackling their backs. I think that's going to be an important part of this as well. Everybody knows you got to contain the quarterback in some fashion, but he's going to get his plays. I think it's just competing down the field for the football.
Brian Kelly talking about this matchup tonight with Florida State and the number of explosive plays, that's going to come into certainly come into play tonight. Give me the outside of turnovers, give me the number of explosive plays, and I'll have a pretty good idea who's going to win this ball game tonight. Earlier this week, we had a chance to visit with LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward.
Scott, over the last year, has been a nearly unprecedented level of success for LSU sports. The run from football to women's basketball to baseball is as good as it gets. What's that been like for you personally, and what are the benefits that LSU gets from that maybe we don't see every day?
Yeah, for me, Charles, it's really personal and it's heartening because I'm a lifelong resident and an alumnus of LSU, and it does matter to me, and it's great to see. But in that same breath, not to be arrogant or glib, I have expectations, and we have expectations, and I think, LSU is no better place in the country, and I think that we're proving that, and our band is proving that, and our bandwidth, I should say, and what it does, leading into your second question, for the overall community institution is priceless. What we do and how we do it to get people excited about the whole enterprise is a good thing because, as we always know, the great cliche is that we are the front porch, and that's where they see us, and they're going to see us a lot. And this is not This is not just an anomaly. It's something that we want to continue to build on. Is it going to be as good as winning, national championships like we think every other month? I don't think so, but I think we will be competitive and we'll have teams that our fans and our students will be very proud of.
We're in an unprecedented time for college football last season as we know it. What is your reaction to the most recent range of conference realignment and where the Southeastern Conference stands in regard to that?
Yeah, here again, I'm pretty much an optimist. I'm very happy that we are in the best conference in the land, and obviously not only do my subjective beliefs believe that, but the facts objectively show out. People watching our matches and our games, and people watching what we're doing and how we're doing it. Our CFP records, our records in all of our other sports and how we're competing, I think it's clear. And so we just need to continue to be a leader and continue to be smart about it. And that being said, it's a lesson learned. You saw a bunch of chaos this go around, Charles, and if you watched our expansion, it was very, very organized and very subtle in how we did it. And we had contiguous state neighbors that wanted to come to us, and we didn't have to go beg them. And I think it turned out very well. And those two teams, obviously, University of Texas and University of Oklahoma. And I think that transition is going extremely smooth and extremely well.
Let's talk about NIL, one of the hot topics. First of all, I want to ask you about the NCAA's enforcement of rules that may be contrary to state laws, since there's 11 different states in the Southeastern Conference. How does that all shake out, in your opinion?
Yeah, we're in this incredible transition period, and there are conflicting rules, ethics rules, regulations, state statutes, NCAA rules, and we're just trying to navigate it the best we can and figure out how we can do this. But here, it's here, like it or not. We will be giving more aid and more things to student athletes. It's just part of what's going to be happening in the coming future. And like it or not, it's here, and we're gonna compete, and we're gonna be involved in it and try to make the best of it as we can. Because I think in the end, it's going to be very positive for our student athletes and for our teams to have more and greater things that we can share.
Earlier this summer, the IRS said that collectives don't fall into tax-exempt status. In response to this, and maybe to the SEC, you can tell me, Texas A&M shut their collective down. They didn't want to lose their 501c status for their main fundraising arm. How concerned are you that this will affect the Bayou Collectives, the Bayou Traditions Collective?
Well, it's a for-profit, as you well know, so I don't think it's going to have one effect whatsoever. And here again, we're going to hopefully be prudent and smart in how we do it, and we're going to try to, integrate it at the right time when we're allowed to do it and do the things that we do. But, we're all getting into the weeds here, Charles, is it a 501c3 or a 501c4, or is it a for-profit, or, is it going to be institutional money, which I believe in the long run it will be. So it's just a matter of semantics and how we do it. But we will be allowing student athletes to have more benefits. That's going to happen.
What has been the commissioner's response to this? To you personally, I know he's taken an active stance on collectives. What has he said to you?
Oh, he's been great. In my experience, I've never seen or witnessed in my 20, 25 years paying attention to athletics on a professional basis, I've never seen a better commissioner than Greg Sankey, and I think he's a step ahead of the game, and he's always thinking what's really in the best of the overall enterprise, but also our league and our individual institutions. So he and I are usually always on the same page, and when we're not, we have moments of agreeing to disagree. But in the end, his leadership has been very, very positive in what and how we've gone about doing what we do, not only as a school but as a conference.
Do you believe that revenue sharing with student athletes is inevitable, that at some point they'll either be revenue sharing or they'll be employees of the university, or both?
I don't think the latter. I think we're going to continue to revenue share, as you well know. We invest heavily into our student athletes in a positive and a very good way. And here again, we're talking semantics. Revenue sharing, is it going to be a straight collective bargaining agreement like the NFLPA, which is, I think, what you're alluding to? Probably not. I don't think so, and I just don't think that's healthy. But we're going to be giving a lot more and being a lot more generous with student athletes, and I think regulations and legal systems and courts are going to mandate us to do that, and I think that's where it's going long term.
Let's talk about scheduling. You were in favor of a 9-game SEC schedule. That's not going to happen, at least for another 2 seasons. Do you think that it is a clearer path to that now? And if it is, what's your utopia? What's your perfect scheduling solution to this from LSU's standpoint?
Yeah, I've made it clear in the past, Charles, that I do like a 9-game conference schedule with the +1 having another autonomy 5 opponent on their non-conference, and I think it's just a matter of time before that happens, and I'm very positive it's going to happen. So I've always been that way. I think it's great for our fan support and our fan interest, as well as what and how we play the game, and I think it even makes more sense now that we're going to a bigger CFP style of tournament.
The Big Ten came up with an interesting solution to permanent and non-permanent opponents, in that they let some teams pick permanent opponents and other teams not have them. Now, that may change with the additions of Washington and Oregon, but it seems to me that permanent opponents has been one of the biggest sticking points in SEC scheduling. So is that a possibility where some teams in the SEC will have permanent opponents every year and some won't?
I doubt it. I think our geographic locations and our traditions still make for great games. Could you imagine us not playing Alabama every year? I mean, I couldn't.
I have to imagine you're not playing Auburn.
But LSU Alabama is a monster game, and the whole world watches it, and it does the biggest rating, and it's mattered for the past 2 decades. And I know the Auburn game has been big as well, and Florida has been for a few decades now, and they're not, and that's going to change a little bit, but it's not going to be as noticeable because I think our scheduling format is fabulous. The one that we've been talking about, going to 9 games where you rotate everyone through in 4 years and you don't play Georgia once every decade. And so it's a sense of fairness to me that matters, and I'm very big on that. And when you have that and you have enough rotation in your schedule, I think your permanence become less of an issue, and it becomes more of a talking point for you guys, Charles. I'm going to dish you and the media to talk about, because – hey, we play Alabama and we play, A&M every year now. You're right. We don't play Auburn every year now. Probably not going to play Mississippi State every year now. And same's going to be true in baseball, where it'll probably be, Mississippi State and A&M as permanents. And it's a part of growth, but it's also a part of getting fairness right. Because I did not like the old way of having Florida as our permanent East opponent, because Florida is usually dang good year in, year out, decade in, decade out, and I would much prefer playing someone else in the East than Florida every year. And when you have a schedule that you go through and that you go to every campus in a 4-year period, and every campus comes to you in a 4-year period, I think that's a great balance, and I think it's a great fairness for our league.
So you are in favor of 3 permanent opponents and 6 rotators, and that'll get everything accomplished?
Correct.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at
98.1.
Gameday continues from Rouse's. Our LeBears countdown to kickoff now inside of 4 hours, 3 hours and 50 minutes to kick off in Orlando. All right, part 2 of our interview with LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward.
Let's talk about week 0. Week 0 does require you to jump through a few hoops. You have to be playing certain teams. You have to have television requirements, but some of those would have been met. Has there been a reluctance of you guys to play in week 0 for any particular reason, or did it just, is that how it fell?
It's how it's fallen. You know, we've tried pushing it and doing it. Traditionally, we like starting week 1, but occasionally, we'll attempt to do a week 0 deal, and I think that'll be something to be discussed in the future as well.
So this was not something, I know you guys tried to push it in the Mason Smith case, but before that, there was no thought about moving Southern last year or Grambling this year to a week 0?
There were, and we were rebuffed and didn't get to, do it.
Okay, I got to ask, rebuffed by who? What was the holdup?
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved with it, and it's with the NCAA, but it's when and how you play your schedule and what and how you do it.
All right, let's talk about facilities. You're always building something. In fact, you're building something right here on the side of this football ops building I'll let you talk about. But what's the next capital improvement projects on the campus?
Yeah, right now we have an extension and a renovation of our training rooms, and we're building a recovery center. It's something that we didn't have that our competition has. It's kind of come up post building this complex here, and we have added on to it, and we are continuing to add on to it. But it was an important piece not only for what and how we do things, but it was an important thing in recruiting, and Coach Kelly really wanted to do it, so we got to it and got it done in a hurry, and so we should hopefully be done this spring with the Recovery Center.
What's next for the PMAC? Your basketball coaches have expressed some interest in some improvements. What's next for the PMAC?
Yeah, we're really diving deep. We've obviously retained a master planner to see what we could do, and we are very aggressive right now talking about options for the PMAC, and we're talking to various parties right now. We're not ready for any announcements or not ready for prime time, but I want our fan base and our supporters to know that we are working hard and diligently to come with a solution, whether it's a new arena or whether it's a new arena with the continuation of the PMAC or just a total renovation of the PMAC, which is probably not feasible. But there's going to be something, I think very positive and very good in the near future on that front.
Before you get the results back of the study, do you have a personal preference?
I don't. I mean, because I have to weigh it on my personal preference is sure. I mean, build something new. Who wouldn't? But we have we don't have unlimited money, and we have to be smart and prudent about how we manage our budget and how we do what and how we do our things. So I think definitely a new arena is going to be in the mix, and we're going to be talking about it. But we're far from there, and we're trying to get this done in a proper and orderly fashion. So when we're ready, we're going to be ready to announce it.
What's next at Alex Box Stadium?
More of the same. I mean, obviously we're moving the warm-up pitch and bullpens to the off the field, and we're going to do some things. But that's another thing of priorities and seeing what we have to do. We have a pretty darn good facility. We just want to stay current in what and how we need it.
Okay. Well, this just opens up a whole nother set of questions. When are you moving the bullpens? Where are you moving them? And what's that going to look like?
I don't know. That's more of a Dan Gaston question, and I'm not even thinking about that, frankly. And you kind of caught me off guard, Charles, because my focus right now is on human capital, like you were talking about, NIL and retaining good coaches and retaining good staff and taking care of our student athletes. So that's where kind of our fundraising focus has been. It hasn't been as focused like it has been in the past on bricks and mortar, but there'll be some interesting stuff. But I couldn't tell you a timeline about the moves of the bullpens.
All right, let's talk about the college football playoff. With the dissolving of the Pac-12, and I don't know, by the time this airs, something different could have happened, but there is a lot of discussion that the makeup of the college football playoff, the 12 team I'm talking about, before it even has a first year, will change in regards to automatic qualifiers and non-automatic qualifiers. How do you think that shakes out? And again, what's your personal preference?
I don't know, Charles, and I'd be lying if I did know. And thank God we have a strong, good commissioner in Greg Sankey to lead her charge on that front. And I think there'll be changes, but what it looks like, I think we and we being us in the Big Ten will have a lot of say in what and how it looks and what changes will be made with the kind of implosion of the Pac-12 and the changing of the Big 12 and potentially the ACC and the Big Ten. Obviously, they changed.
It's a really nice way of saying that there's going to be fewer automatic qualifiers. Am I reading that right?
Well, that's my belief. I'm not a big believer in AQs. I believe in merit, but that's all to be discussed at a higher level than me. That's for the commissioners to discuss, and I like how successful that Commissioner Sankey's been, and I think he'll prevail in getting our side told pretty well.
Transfer portal. What is the immediate future, I would say, of the transfer portal? The rules have been tweaked. The windows have been tweaked. Are you comfortable where it is now? What changes do you see on the horizon, if any?
Yeah, I think you said it best. It's tweaking, and it's how we go about our business, and just make sure that there's no tampering, and it's fair for student athletes to do. And I think it'll continue to be tweaked and looked at. But so far, so good, and a lot of our teams have benefited from it, and I think it's been for LSU a positive thing.
With the NCAA ruling behind you, are you confident that men's basketball is at full strength or approaching full strength moving forward after that lengthy review?
Yeah, I do. And Coach McMahon refers to last year appropriately as year zero, like we do in football, like week zero. It's year zero, and we were at such a disadvantage without a team and in no man's land as far as where we were under the NCAA dark cloud. And I think it's been lifted, and I think it's given us a chance to really build back and to really start recruiting high school kids as well as get transfers in here to get some success. And we have to have and show the world recruits and our fan base market improvement. And I think you'll see that, and I think Coach McMahon's working real hard towards that front.
This is a football pregame show, so I'll wrap it up with a football question. I should probably ask one of those at least. Your relationship with Brian Kelly and the first year and now going into year two, where this program is, the things that he's done, and what you're expecting on the field, and of course this game against Florida State so important.
Yeah, you know how I am, Charles. I'm not too emotional. I don't get too high. I don't get too low. I want to see progress, as far as where this program goes, and that doesn't mean just on the field wins and losses. I mean recruiting. I mean graduation and what we're doing with our kids and how we're doing it and building this foundation for a long run and a long haul, because I have high expectations for this program to be a dominant program well into the future. So, you're not going to get a prediction out of me for this game. I like our chances, I'll say that. But long term, I think we're in very good hands, and I just warn fans, don't try not to live in the recruit per day moment or the win per weekend moment, but look at the long term and see where the progress is, because I think you're going to be very happy with what you see, not only this season, but in seasons to come.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here. Now, for life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
We're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified, and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shay Dixon from On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
And we're back here at Rouse's. Countdown to kickoff, our LeBears countdown to kickoff. We are some 3 hours and 35 minutes away from the start of tonight's game. By the way, one quick update on that interview we did with Scott Woodward earlier this week. He did get back with me and confirm that the bullpens will be moved for the 2025 season. To do them this year would have run into fall baseball, and they didn't want that. So 2025 season, bullpens off the field. Musa, I know you were very worried about that.
Right after they dogpile to go to Omaha in 24, they can get to work.
Yes,
right after.
That is the exact plan. Let's bring in our friend Shay Dixon from On3. Shay, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well, Charlie. Off season's over. We're back.
Yes, Mortimer, we are back. All right, so if you haven't done anything, if you haven't followed recruiting at all since last we spoke, let me just open this up real broadly. Where is LSU as they start the season as far as the 2024 class? 2025 class, I guess I should say.
Yeah, 2024. No, you got it right.
I got it right? Okay.
Yeah, look, Charlie, even in off-season.
There's two signing dates, man. You know, I mean, I want to know the right terminology, so go right ahead.
No, you're right on point. 2024. So all these kids are beginning their senior seasons right now. Like Louisiana just had week 1 of high school football. Around the country, most people are about in week 2. So kids are starting to roll again. And I guess since we last talked, which was the bowl game, they finished with the top 5 class. They brought in a number of freshmen. We'll see how big of roles they play on this team this year. But I think that they did a good job of building depth. They had double-digit transfers, which we'll see a good amount of in this game tonight. But high school-wise, a top 5 class, number 5 class was a very good finish. And now we enter the football season where winning games matters. We saw that a year ago. They built momentum off of it, and they have the number 8 class. So consistently top 10, about where they were around this time last year when they moved up into the top 5. And they've got a lot in front of them still between now and signing day in terms of holding on to guys we could see move up in the rankings. But currently, Charlie, 24 total commitments. So they're getting back to the norm of heavy on high school kids and over time lower and lower on how many you're taking out of the portal.
All right, so when we look at let's say the top 10 in Louisiana, this is the good news, bad news thing. The good news is that LSU has most of them, 8 or 9, depending on how you slot them, of the top 10 guys. However, this week they did lose Dominic McKinley, the top-rated player in the state, to Texas A&M. So how would you rate the in-state effort at this point?
Well, it's tough to give an A when they have a couple of kids who are ranked at the top or not going to LSU at this moment. Now, I always say, much like people did, we've had back-to-back summers, Charlie, where people freaked out and LSU is ranked outside the top 15, and when was the good news going to come? And they go on runs, and they'll go on another run, and we'll see what all these guys end up being ranked by signing day. But I'd say B+, and here's the reason why. You, in year 1 with Brian Kelly, you had 6 of the top 10 players leave the state, and Arch Manning was number 1. We didn't ever think that he was coming here. But there were a number of other guys who were in that top 10 who went elsewhere, and LSU was coming off back-to-back 500 seasons, and it wasn't surprising when those guys were going elsewhere. Now that they've had a 10-win season, now that it seems clear that the trajectory of this program is heading in the right direction, they get a top 5 class. Now, as you noted, they've got 8 of the top 10 guys in Louisiana committed. Do you want to land the number 1 guy do you need to land all 10 to call it perfect? I mean, sure, if that's how you're drawing it up. I think I've studied enough of these classes and just looked at them year over year. Charlie, and you know this. You've been around. I won't date you, but let's just talk modern era.
Yeah.
You've been around enough to see that LSU never signed all 10 of the top 10. They haven't at all in the past 15 years. Bama's always come in and got a couple of guys. A&M and Texas are now coming in and get a couple of guys. But you've got to remember, too, that LSU offers maybe 14, 15 guys in Louisiana class. So if you can get 80% of those guys, that's the number I put it at, where that's 12, 13 guys, and maybe a few leave the state, and hopefully they're not going to teams you have to play every year, but it happens. And you supplement that with very solid out-of-state recruiting, and they're very present in Texas right now. They've done well in Georgia. Then you're going to consistently have a top 10 class, and then it's about coaching and developing it. And right now they've got a top 10 class and a coaching staff that I think a lot of people at least see how they feel after tonight. But after 1 year, they feel very confident that, hey, look, these guys know the right buttons to push.
Shay, where do they turn actually now after Dominic McKinley? 'Cause, I mean, that is a position of need. And looking at the class, I count one defensive lineman right now.
Yeah, two. And Ahmad Bro is listed as an edge out of Ruston. He'll play D-line. And then Demarion Johnson out of Westgate. So they have two Louisiana kids committed. There's multiple layers to peel back of the defensive line onion. And one is that nationally there's only about 10, 15 guys who are considered elite defensive linemen, top 200 types. And you'd have to go out there. There are not in Louisiana this cycle beyond Dominic McKinley. You have to go out there and get them. And I then think that the biggest piece of the onion you're peeling back here is the reality that take me back when Bo first got here as D-line coach and made that transition to head coach. They've had a new D-line coach every single year except one, and that was when Bill Johnson stepped in for Dennis Johnson when he got hurt, and Bill Johnson was still the coach the next year on the D-line. Other than that, they've run through them, and now most recently Andre Carter to Jamar Kane to Jenny Lindsay, and it's just been very tough for them to recruit nationally, and even guys like Dominic McKinley build a relationship with a five-star defensive lineman in Louisiana when in the span of 6 months you've gone through multiple D-line coaches and you're going up against the Bo Davises and Elijah Robinsons and Larry Johnson at Ohio State. Like, if those are the teams you're battling in recruiting D-linemen, you're sometimes behind the eight ball if other teams have a lot more stability and, in turn, skins on the wall.
Shay, who is the biggest uncommitted target that they are in position to get a commitment from right now?
Well, with McKinley off the board, and again, Wardell Maxnell's committed to Florida, Gabriel Relaford's committed to A&M. These are all Louisiana kids. I think that you've got to look outside the state. And one big name is a five-star Terry Busty out of Texas. He's going to visit in the month of September. He'll be at the Arkansas game, or it might be I think it's the Arkansas game. But it kind of throws me off knowing that game's only in a few weeks and not 2 months away. But he'll be here. He'll visit Bama, and then he'll decide. And I think a lot of people consider him to be a kid who has been leaning to A&M, but he wants to look one more time at Bama and LSU before he says, okay, I'm ready to make a decision. I think that I would look to offensive line, and they have a handful of offensive line. Brad Davis has done great, and as long as Brian Kelly is the head coach, offensive line is always going to be prioritized and recruited very well. But they're recruiting a kid named Elijah Thurman out of Georgia, who's a four-star that is having a big stock-up surge, and all of a sudden Clemson and all these other schools are jumping in. And Brad Davis has kind of had his teeth sunk in there since he got him onto camp and offered him in the summer. So those will be a couple to watch, but really, for me, we're going to be watching committed guys. Like, can they flip Adami, any of these in-state kids, McKinley, Relaford at Evangel? Do you ever get back in it with Colin Simmons? It's just, we're at the point in the process where the majority of the guys you've been recruiting are now committed. So it's a matter of flipping them.
Shay, last thing, it's an odd schedule this year in that LSU only plays 2 home games in the first 6 weeks of the season. The high schoolers are going to be headlong into the stretch drive before LSU plays, that third game at Tiger Stadium. Now, they get them all late in the season. Does that bother you at all? Does that matter?
I don't think it does for me as much, because I think once you're in the season, and as you noted, so many kids are focused on high school football, focused on their senior year, all of that the closer you get to signing day, the more important visits come. So if you're getting kids to campus in November and even late October and early December, that's a good thing because that's the closest to when they have to make a decision. I often think sometimes these early visits can wear off, and the teams that are getting them to campus in November become the teams that start to trend. So I don't mind it. I think that they can, if you're looking for the glass being half full there, it would be that, hey, you're one of the last teams to be able to host these kids.
All right, what's coming up at On 3?
Hey, we're going to have our first Recruits React of the year. It's the only game on tonight, so I'm sure every recruit in the country is going to be watching it. These two teams both recruit very well right now, so we'll catch up with a lot of targets that LSU's after, both now and for the future. And I think that's what you do, Charlie. In years like this is where all your juniors are watching, and it kind of helps set an early tone for, hey, I'd really like to look at LSU. They're off winning again this year, and as I said to start off, winning matters. If they can keep winning, recruiting will only continue to get better.
Shay, we always appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, I look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
We're here at Rouse's Market. Save $20 on each of your next 3 curbside pickup orders of $100 or more. Use the promo code at checkout, Saints20. Rouse's Market's the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. We'll take a break. We'll have our scouting report with Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl. That is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-126-81. Offices in Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1. WDGL and AC1 Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day Scouting Report. Presented by Demco. Demco, powering lives, brightening the future.
And welcome back in Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by your Super Chevy dealers. We are live from the Rouses on Burbank, continuing to count you down to the season opener. Number 5 LSU, number 8 Florida State in Orlando. time to get a closer look at the Seminoles, a team LSU should be very familiar with, returning a lot of production, and that's why we bring in our guy for Scouting Report, Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, back with us another year, and we're fired up to do it again. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great, Matt. Yeah, it's good to be back.
A lot of buzz down here, as you might imagine, Jim. Probably the biggest season opener with the most hype since LSU faced Oregon in 2011. And, I can remember talking to you last year this time about this game, and Florida State wasn't as veteran. Now they are, to the tune of 14 players on y'all's Senior Bowl watch list this season, 9 of them on the defensive side of the ball. But, man, perhaps the skill positions steal the show. Let's talk quarterback first, though, because everyone's talked Jaden Daniels versus Jordan Travis. You saw that matchup last year. Both guys turned in spectacular performances, and Jordan Travis is now back for more.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start. The quarterback spot, there's going to be a lot of debate as we work through the season on who should be the quarterbacks here for the Senior Bowl. And Jaden and Jordan Travis will be right there in the thick of that. But the thing with Jordan is, if you're a Florida State fan, that you can be excited about is like he's not close to hitting his ceiling. Like mechanically, you watch the junior tape. I mean, he's got a long way to go. And there was some inconsistency in his play last year. But the one thing you're hanging your hat on, if you're an NFL evaluator with Jordan Travis, is when he needed to make a play last year, he could make a play. Whether that was with his legs, he's a really good athlete, or he can make a big throw, and he trusts his receivers to go make a play for him. So he was a guy last year that I know some NFL people were thinking about converting him to maybe playing wide receiver because he's that kind of athlete. So we'll see what steps he took this year as a passer. I think that's what the league is really looking to see. That's what we're looking to see is just kind of how far he's come in the past year throwing the football.
What's kind of one thing with Jordan Travis's game that maybe the average fan doesn't pick up, but NFL scouts are all over already for him? I know you mentioned they want him better as a passer, but the pure athleticism, what's maybe one thing that scouts would pick up on that the average fan wouldn't?
Well, I just say he makes plays in critical situations. And not everyone can do that. Some guys shrink in those moments, and he doesn't. Jordan has the ability to step up when he needs to, even when he's going through rough patches. He can be playing, going through a tough stretch through games, and again, when he needs to make a play, he can. And again, I think the trust factor with receivers is oftentimes overlooked. It's easier said than done, when you trust your receivers to go make a play. Against tight coverage, a lot of guys really shy away from that, don't have the confidence to take their shot when they need to, and he does. I mean, he's got a really good one. We can get to him, but Johnny Wilson, his big 6'6" wide receiver, is a guy that he lets go up and trust and go and make a play for him. So I would think those would be probably the biggest thing.
Let's talk about Johnny Wilson right now then. You mentioned it, and, look, the first thing you said was 6'6", and when Brian Kelly's talked about him, he's mentioned size and athleticism, catch radius, all of those things. When the LSU DBs have talked about him, they've mentioned the same thing. Just Johnny Wilson coming over, of course, from Arizona State last year, was Florida State's leading receiver. And now if LSU wants to go, physicality is going to be a big thing for them facing off against a big body like that.
Yeah, nobody knows him better than Jaden Daniels. Those guys were teammates out there in the desert. A lot of schools list players at certain heights, and then when the NFL gets their hands on them and actually measures them, they're much shorter than that. Well, Johnny Wilson is a legit. He was over 6'6". For the NFL scouts in the spring. He was 237 pounds, and he's got almost 36-inch arms, which is rare length. I mean, there's having long arms, and then there's having Johnny Wilson arms. I mean, this guy is a like you said, catch radius. He has got a huge catch radius, and he makes plays down the field. He's a guy that Jordan does a really good job just putting it up to, and Johnny makes plays for him. So he's going to be a hard guy for them. He's going to be a hard guy for that unproven LSU secondary to cover, and I think they know that. So that'll be a big matchup in the game for sure.
Trey Benson in the backfield is somebody I know y'all are very high on over there in Mobile, and he finished just shy of 1,000 yards last year, really came on strong towards the end of the regular season for the Noles. Four 100-yard games in the last 5. Physical back at 6'1", 223. Back for more is another way you could describe Trey Benson. Just how has he kind of taken his game to the next level after finishing so strong last season?
Yeah, we'll see. He is. You said he's highly regarded here, and he is. I mean, he and Blake Corum from Michigan are top 2 graded running backs right now off their junior tape, and he is. He's the 220-plus pound back that the NFL is looking for. Every team wants a guy like that. He's a big, muscled-up guy. He's hard to bring down. He's explosive on contact. So he'll be a tough guy. They better come wrapping up, because if that LSU defense thinks they can just hit him and get him on the ground, that's not going to happen. I mean, you got to wrap up, and you got to get multiple hats to the football to contain Trey Benson. So he's going to be a tough one. This might be the best, but this is probably the best back that LSU will face all season.
I know many are eagerly awaiting the first time that Harold Perkins and Trey Benson meet on a football field on later tonight. Talking with Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, on Twitter at @JimNagy_SB. Let's flip sides of the ball, Jim, because as I mentioned kind of right there off the top, 9 of the 14 players on the watch list are on the defensive side of the ball for Florida State. It's their most veteran unit on their team, and it starts up front with the front 7, but specifically on the defensive line. Everybody knows Jared Verse, and we'll get to him. But listening to Mike Norvell talk earlier this week, he had high praise for Fabian Lovett, defensive tackle, calling him really their most improved player on the defensive side of the ball, and I know y'all are high on him as well.
Well, we are high on him because we invited him last year. We invited him out of the chute to last year's game. He accepted his invite, and we thought we were getting him here to Mobile. And then I got a phone call one early morning in January that he was going to go back to school. Got some NIL money to go back, and that's I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that comment from Mike Norvell that he's their most improved player. If that's the case, look out, because he played a really good game against LSU a year ago.
Yeah.
Inside, really clogging things up, and if he's taking the next step, now we're talking about a guy that could be a day 2 draft pick. So, I mean, last year we had him in the 4th round, a 4th round grade on him. He reminded me of the former LSU Tiger Neil Farrell. That's who, when I watched him last year, that's who I thought of when I watched Lovett. So, if he's taking that next step, that's going to be a hard guy to run against inside.
LSU's got plenty of stable of backs to try and get that done. That's been well chronicled here, and I'm sure when we talk more about the LSU guys in coming weeks, we'll mention a few of them as well. Then there's Jared Verse, obviously, on the edge, and a guy who very likely would have heard his name called in the 1st round last year, yet he's back at school, and it's going to be an interesting matchup watching him go up against Will Campbell, a much more experienced Will Campbell for LSU this year, but Tigers will certainly have their hands full with a guy like Jared Verse.
Yeah, I think, Verse really surprised the NFL community last year by choosing to go back, because he probably would have went somewhere in the 1st round. You're right. I think this year he's got a chance to be probably a top half of the 1st round guy. And he came out of nowhere last year in that LSU game. He was a transfer from an FCS school, Albany, and so he burst on the scene last year and was tough to handle. I mean, especially on passing downs. When this guy can just pin his ears back and go, he's disruptive at the quarterback. So that'll be a key to the game tonight, is keeping him off Jaden Daniels. So he's one of the best senior players in the country this year.
And I wanted to finish up with a thought maybe on the linebacking tandem there in Tallahassee. You have Bethune, of course, and then Kalen DeLoach. Those 2 guys were right at the top of the tackle list for Florida State. They're both back, and when you look at a veteran front 7, they're right there backing up guys like Fabian Lovett, guys like Jared Verse, and LSU. They're going to want to establish a run game both with the stable of backs and Jaden Daniels to some extent, but it's going to be tough sledding against guys like DeLoach and Bethune.
Yeah, Bethune jumped out at his last year. He transferred from UCF last year. He was UCF's leading tackler 2 years ago, and then transferred to Florida State. And so coming into the game last year, we knew nothing about him. And he really stood out, just running sideline to sideline. Got our attention with his closing speed and his instincts. And he's a little undersized. He's 5'11", but he's 230 pounds. And he can really run, so he'll show up. And DeLoach is another undersized guy. He's only about 215 pounds. But he can run as well. So they're both speed linebackers. They will be running sideline to sideline. And again, when you got guys like Fabian Lovett inside and Jared Verse, they're going to make the ball bounce a little bit. So those LSU backs are going to end up out on the perimeter tonight, and it's going to be up to Bethune and DeLoach to chase those guys down. So no, those are 2 good ones, man. They're not the biggest guys, but they can run.
LSU and Florida State tonight from Orlando. Number 5, number 8, Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, giving us a closer look at the Florida State Seminoles. Jim, we appreciate the time as always, and we'll do it again next week. Thank you.
Yeah, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Go Tigers.
Absolutely. We're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. We'll continue counting you down to LSU and Florida State. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by your Super Chevy dealers.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Off the bench on Game Day. Presented by Shell. Shell is the rhythm of Louisiana. Off the Bench is heard weekday mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, Jacob Esther and T-Bob Hebert.
I put together my top 5 most important matchups for the game on Sunday. Position group, player versus player, however you want to put it. Top 5 best matchups come Sunday, LSU, FSU. And Jake, you can give me your own 5 where you agree, disagree. My number 1 most important matchup for Sunday is LSU's offensive line against Florida State's defensive line. And the reason being is I don't think, maybe outside of just Harold Perkins himself, I don't think you're going to see a bigger difference between the 2 years than in how good LSU's O-line should be this year compared to how putrid they were in this game last year. And if you're looking at Jaden Daniels as being the key, him taking that leap as being the key, keeping up with Jordan Travis points, well, LSU's offensive line is going to be the key to accomplishing all of these goals. So that's my number 1 most important matchup for Sunday, Jake. LSU line.